Angela Morris counted the money in her apron pocket for the fourth time that night. $45. Not 46, not 44. Exactly 45. It was everything she had left after rent. Everything between her and a week of hunger. She pressed the worn bills flat against the small metal counter behind the diner register, smoothing each crease as if that might somehow make them worth more. It didn't. Money never changed because someone needed it more. Angela knew that better than most. The diner was nearly empty now. Midnight had already passed, and only a flickering neon sign outside still insisted the place was alive. Inside, the smell of burnt coffee and fried oil clung to the air like something that refused to leave. "Angela, close up when you're done," the manager called lazily from the back. She nodded, even though he wasn't looking. He never really looked at her. No one did. Angela Morris was the kind of person people forgot 5 seconds after walking past her. A waitress with tired eyes, tied back hair, and hands that moved quickly but quietly. Invisible. But invisibility had its advantages. People spoke freely around her. People showed their true selves when they thought no one was watching. And Angela always watched. Not because she wanted power, but because she had learned early in life. Silence was survival, and observation was protection. She wiped down the last table slowly, her mind already calculating the week ahead. $45. Food, electricity, bus fare. Something would have to be sacrificed. It always was. When she stepped outside, the cold hit her like a wall. January in the city didn't just chill, it cut. The wind moved through the streets like something alive, sharp and relentless, slipping through fabric, through skin, straight into bone. Angela pulled her coat tighter around herself. It wasn't much, thin, worn at the edges, but it was the only barrier she had against the night. The streets were quiet. Too quiet. Even the usual late-night traffic had retreated. Only the distant hum of the city remained, low and constant, like a heartbeat under concrete. She started walking. One step, then another. Her breath came out in pale clouds, disappearing almost as quickly as they formed. Home was 20 minutes away. 20 minutes of cold. 20 minutes of thinking. She was halfway down the block when she saw her. At first, it looked like nothing more than a shadow. A shape on a bench in the small park just off the corner. Angela almost kept walking. Almost. Because in this city, stopping could be dangerous. But something felt wrong. Not suspicious. Not threatening. She slowed. Turned. And walked toward the bench. The closer she got, the clearer it became. An old woman. Fragile. Dressed in a silk nightgown that had no place in this kind of cold. Her bare feet touched the frozen ground. Angela's stomach tightened. The woman was shaking violently. Not the kind of shiver you could ignore. The kind that meant the body was already losing the fight. Angela stepped closer. No response. The woman's eyes were open, but unfocused, lost somewhere far away from the freezing night around her. Her lips moved slightly, whispering something. A name, maybe. Or a memory. Angela understood immediately. Not drunk. Not homeless. Lost. The kind of loss that came from inside the mind. Dementia or something close to it. Angela crouched down slowly, careful not to startle her. "It's okay," she said softly. "You're safe." The woman flinched anyway. Her hands tightened around the thin fabric of her gown. Angela glanced around. Empty. No one. No help. No witnesses. Just her and this woman who didn't even seem to know where she was. Angela exhaled slowly. $45. Her fingers tightened slightly. Then she made the decision. The kind that didn't come from logic. The kind that didn't ask permission. She slipped off her coat. For a brief second, the cold hit her harder, sharper, but she ignored it. Carefully, gently, she draped the coat over the old woman's shoulders. The trembling didn't stop. But it slowed. Just a little. Angela sat beside her on the bench, close enough to offer warmth, but not close enough to overwhelm her. "You're okay," she murmured again. "I'm here." The woman's eyes shifted. For a moment, just a moment, they focused on Angela's face. There was fear in them. And something else. Recognition, maybe. Then it was gone again. Angela didn't rush, didn't push. Instead, she stood up and ran toward the small convenience store at the corner. The bell above the door rang as she rushed inside. Hot coffee, she said quickly, and bread, whatever you have. The cashier barely looked at her. 45. Angela froze. For just half a second. 45. Everything. Her hand moved slowly to her pocket. She already knew. Still, she counted it again. Just to be sure. Still 45. Still everything. She thought about the week ahead. The empty kitchen. The long shifts. The hunger. Then she thought about the woman outside. Barefoot. Shaken. Alone. Angela placed the money on the counter. I'll take it. The cashier shrugged, bagged the items, and slid them toward her without a second thought. Money was money. Stories didn't matter. Angela rushed back outside. The cold felt sharper now without her coat biting into her skin, but she ignored it. The woman was still there. Still shaking. Angela knelt beside her again. Here, she said softly, holding the cup carefully. Small sips. She guided the woman's hands, steadying them as much as she could. It took time. Patience. But slowly the woman drank. Angela broke the bread into small pieces, offering them one by one. Then carefully, she checked the inside of the nightgown pocket. An identification card. An address? Her eyes widened slightly. This wasn't just any neighborhood. This was one of the richest parts of the city. The kind of place Angela had only ever seen from the outside. The kind of place where people like her didn't belong. Angela looked back at the woman. Then at the empty street. Then at the address. She already knew what she had to do. A taxi pulled up 10 minutes later. The driver rolled down the window. Where to? Angela handed him the card. He looked at it. Then looked at her. Then back at the address. That's far, he said. 45. Angela almost laughed. Of course it was. Of course. She opened her empty wallet anyway. Nothing left. She looked at the woman. Still trembling. Still lost. Still depending on her. Angela didn't hesitate this time. Take her, she said. Make sure she gets inside safely. Don't leave until someone answers. The driver studied her for a moment. Then nodded. Angela helped the woman into the taxi. Just before the door closed, the old woman suddenly grabbed her hand. Taylor. Her eyes clear. Just for a second. You, she whispered. Angela leaned closer. You have a good heart. The words were soft, but they carried weight. Then the moment passed. The confusion returned. The door shut. The taxi drove away. Angela stood there. Alone. No coat. No money. No plan for tomorrow. Only the cold. And the quiet. She wrapped her arms around herself and started walking again. Step by step. Into the freezing night. Not knowing that across the city, a man feared by everyone was already searching for his mother, and that her small act of kindness had just stepped into a world of power, danger, and consequence. At the exact moment Angela stepped into the freezing night with nothing but the cold around her. Miles away, in the highest tower overlooking the city, power was awake. Not ordinary power. Not political. Not corporate. The kind of power that didn't ask permission. The kind that made problems disappear. Jones stood in front of a floor-to-ceiling glass window. The city stretched beneath him like something he owned. Because in many ways, he lived tall, controlled, unmoving, dressed in black, even at 3 in the morning. Not for style. For readiness. He was a man who expected trouble. And more importantly, a man who ended it. Behind him, the room was silent except for the faint ticking of a clock. In front of him, the city lights flickered like distant stars. But his focus wasn't on any of it. It was on the voice coming through the phone in his hand. She's not in her room, sir. Pause. Long enough to make the air feel heavier. We've checked the entire residence, all exits, all cameras. Another pause. Stillness. Dangerous stillness. She is gone. Jones didn't shout. He didn't curse. That would have been easier. Instead, his fingers tightened slowly around the phone. Lock down the building, he said quietly. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried something sharper than anger. Finality. No one leaves. No one enters. Every camera review it. Yes, sir. And listen carefully, Jones added. The kind of calm that made people nervous. If anything happens to her, there won't be anything left of whoever allowed it. The line went silent. Jones lowered the phone. For a moment. Just a moment. His reflection stared back at him from the glass. Cold. Controlled. Untouchable. But beneath it, something else flickered. Vera. Because there was only one person in this world who could still make him feel like that. His mother. The only person who remembered him before he became this. And now, she was missing. Within minutes, the building transformed. Men in black suits moved like shadows through marble hallways. Security feeds flickered across screens. Phones rang. Orders were given. No hesitation. No delay. Jones didn't sit. He didn't wait. He moved. Through hallways, through rooms. Through a system that obeyed him without question. But time refused to obey. Minutes stretched. Then an hour. Still nothing. The city outside remained silent. Unaware. Unmoved. Until, at exactly 4:02 a.m., a call came in. Sir, we have a location. Jones turned. Instantly. Speed. A taxi just pulled up. She's here. For the first time that night, he moved faster. The elevator doors opened into the lobby. And there, under the soft golden lights, he saw her. His mother, wrapped in a coat that clearly wasn't hers, supported gently by a taxi driver. Alive. Jones didn't hesitate. He crossed the distance in seconds. Mother. His voice changed. Slowly, but completely. He took her into his arms carefully like something fragile. Something irreplaceable. She looked up at him. And smiled. A real smile. Not the confused ones. Not the empty ones. A moment of clarity. There was a girl, she murmured softly. Jones froze slightly. A good girl, she continued. She gave me her coat and coffee. Her fingers tightened weakly around his sleeve. She called the car, made sure I came home. Jones' eyes sharpened. The world shifted again. Where is she? He asked quietly. His mother blinked. Confusion returned. She stayed behind. The moment faded, but the words remained. Jones straightened slowly, then turned to the driver. Tell me everything. 10 minutes later, Jones stood alone in his private study. A screen in front of him. Surveillance footage. He didn't rush it. Didn't skip. Didn't assume. He watched. Carefully. Precisely. Because men like him survive by noticing what others ignored. And then, he saw her. Angela. Walking into frame. Small. Ordinary. Invisible. He leaned slightly closer. She removed her coat. Placed it over his mother. Ran for coffee. Returned. Waited. Stayed. Then, the moment that mattered. She opened her wallet. Counted. Puss. Jones' eyes narrowed. He could read hesitation. Fear. Calculation. He had seen it in hundreds of people. Before betrayal. Before greed. Before weakness. But this was different. She handed everything to the driver. Everything. No negotiation. No hesitation after the decision. Then, the final frame. Angela standing alone. No coat. No money. Wrapping her arms around herself. And walking away into the cold. Jones leaned back slowly. Silence filled the room. Not the empty kind. The kind that meant something had just shifted. He had met thousands of people. Men who begged. Women who manipulated. All of them orbiting power. All of them calculating. What this girl? She walked away from it. From value. From safety. From comfort. Without expecting anything in return. That wasn't normal. That wasn't strategy. That was something else. Something rare. Jones picked up his phone. Revy. His right-hand man answered instantly. Yes, sir. I want everything on her. If possible. Name, address, history, work, death, records. Another pause. Ravi hesitated slightly. Sir, has she done something wrong? Jones looked back at the frozen frame of Angela on the screen. Standing alone in the cold. No, he said quietly. She did something very few people are capable of. A longer pause. Then, understood. The call ended. Jones remained seated, still watching her image. Then slowly, he opened a drawer. Inside, a small velvet box. He lifted it. Opened it. The rim. Simple. What? A memory. His late wife's. He stared at it for a long moment. Then closed the box again. She's different, he murmured. Not curiosity. Not interest. Recognition. The next morning, Angela woke up hungry. Not unusual. Hunger had been her companion for years. But today, it felt heavier. Because this time, she had chosen it. She sat at the small table in her apartment. Empty. Cold. Quiet. No food. No money. Only silence. But there was something else, too. No regret. Not even a little. She leaned back slightly, closed her eyes, and exhaled. I did the right thing, she whispered. And sometimes, that had to be enough. She didn't know that at that exact moment, her name was being written into a file. Not as a suspect. Not as a problem. But as something far more dangerous. Someone who couldn't be bought. 3 days later, Angela was back at the diner. Same apron. Same routine. Same invisibility. Hands moving. Mind quiet. Until Angela. She froze. The manager's voice was different. Tense. Someone's here to see you. Angela frowned. No one comes for me. Yeah, he said slowly, that's what I thought too. She wiped her hands, walked out, and stepped into the private room. Then stopped. Because inside sat a man who didn't belong in her world. Of all, black suit, perfect posture, stillness that wasn't calm, but controlled power. He stood as she entered. Not out of politeness. Out of recognition. And in that moment, Angela understood something instinctively. This man was dangerous. Not loud. Not chaotic. But precise. The kind of danger you didn't see until it was already too late. My name is Jones, he said. His voice low. Even controlled. I believe you helped my mother. And just like that, the invisible girl stepped into power. Angela didn't sit. Not when Jones gestured toward the chair. Not when silence stretched between them. Not even when every instinct told her. This man could change her life with a single decision. Instead, she stayed standing. Because standing meant she could leave. And leaving meant she still had control. I helped someone who needed help, she said calmly. That's all. Jones studied her. Not her clothes. Not her posture. Her tone. No fear. No flattery. No performance. Just truth. You gave away everything you had, he said. Angela shrugged lightly. It was enough. That answer. That quiet, dangerous simplicity made something shift behind his eyes. Most people justified sacrifice. Explained it. Dramatized it. She didn't. She treated it like normal. Jones leaned slightly forward. My mother remembered you, he said. She doesn't remember most things. Angela's expression softened just a fraction. That's good, she said quietly. Another pause. Then, I want you to work for me. Effect. No decoration. Angela almost smiled. Almost. People like you don't offer jobs, she said. You buy people. The room still. Even the air seemed to pause. No one spoke to Jones like that. But he didn't react with anger. He didn't interrupt. Instead, he listened. Because something in her voice made him. This isn't a purchase, he said calmly. It's a position. Angela crossed her arms slightly. What kind of position? Care for my mother. Manage certain internal matters. And a price? Jones held her gaze. $8,000 a month, housing included. Angela laughed. Not loudly, but sharply enough to cut through the room. I gave away $45, she said. Not my life. Jones didn't move. Didn't push. Didn't raise his voice. Then set your terms. And that was the first real shift. Because power, real power, doesn't offer negotiation. It expects obedience. Angela noticed and responded. 1 month, she said. His eyes narrowed slightly. Trial only. If pause. I don't live in your house. I work, and that's all. Another pause. And if anyone crosses a line, anyone I leave. No explanation. The room held its breath. Because this wasn't negotiation. This was a line being drawn. Jones nodded. Accepted. No hesitation. No bargaining. Because he understood something most people didn't. She wasn't asking for permission. She was defining her dignity. The next morning, Angela stood outside her apartment building. A black car waited. Too polished. Too clean. Too out of place. She hesitated for 1 second. Just one. Then opened the door and got in. Because fear wasn't enough reason to walk away from opportunity. The estate wasn't a home. It was a fortress disguised as one. Iron gates. Lawn roads. Silent guards. Angela stepped out of the car and felt it instantly. This wasn't a place people left easily. But she didn't show it. Didn't react. Because she had learned long ago. If you look intimidated, people treat you that way. Ravi met her at the entrance. Cold eyes. Measured tone. Follow the rules, he said. Don't ask questions that don't concern you. Angela nodded once. I don't ask questions. I observe answers. Ravi studied her. Then turned. That will keep you alive here. The first person who truly saw her wasn't Jones. It was his mother. The moment Angela stepped into the room, the old woman's eyes lit up, like memory had broken through fog. You came back, she whispered. And before Angela could react, she was pulled into an embrace. Tut. Fragile. Real. Angela froze. Because no one had held her like that in years. Not out of need. Not out of expectation. But out of simple affection. I promised, Angela said softly. And for the first time since arriving, she felt something unfamiliar. Belonging. Days passed. Then weeks. Angela learned the rhythms. The silence. The tension beneath luxury. She cared for the old woman patiently. Repeating answers. Rebuilding memory. Creating calm where confusion lived. But that wasn't what made her dangerous. What made her dangerous was what she noticed. The numbers. The patterns. The small inconsistencies. Receipts that didn't align. Expenses without explanation. Money that moved quietly. But deliberately. Angela didn't react immediately. She watched. Verified. Cross-checked. Because truth had to be precise. Or it was useless. One night, she knocked on Jones' study door. He didn't look surprised. Come in. Angela placed a stack of papers on the desk. Your accounts are leaking. He didn't interrupt. Didn't question. Explain. Small withdrawals, she said, consistent, hidden inside operational costs. She tapped the pages. Over time, it's not small anymore. Jones flipped through the documents. His expression didn't change. But his focus sharpened. "You're certain?" "Yes." No hesitation. No doubt. That's what made him pause. Because certainty, from someone like her, wasn't arrogance. It was accuracy. The investigation was quiet, clear, efficient, and brutal. The culprit, a trusted internal accountant, gone by morning. No explanation. No trace. Angela didn't ask. Because she already knew. Justice here didn't look like courtrooms. The next day, Ravi approached her. "You were right," he said. That was all. But from him, it meant everything. Respect had shifted. That night, Jones found Angela in the garden. "You could have stayed silent," he said. Angela didn't look at him. Silence protects the wrong people. It paused. Then, "I don't work for people I can't be honest with." Jones studied her. And for the first time, there was something unfamiliar in his expression. Not authority. Not calculation. Respect. But power doesn't exist without opposition. And opposition was already watching. The gala was inevitable. Bright lights. Expensive lies. Polished cruelty. Angela didn't belong there. She knew it. They knew it. And that's why she stood out. Not because of her dress, but because she wasn't pretending. Then, the moment came. A woman approached. Elegant. Sure. Dangerous in a different way. "Angela," she said sweetly. Too sweetly. "I remember you." Angela's stomach tightened. But her face didn't change. Because she remembered too. Very clearly. The woman who helped destroy her life. The one who turned truth into accusation. The one who made sure no one believed her. "You shouldn't be here," the woman added softly. Loud enough for others to hear. And yet, Angela replied calmly, "Here I am." The room shifted. Attention turned. And then, the attack. "She has a record," the woman announced. Dev. Whispers spread instantly. Like fire. Like poison. Angela stood still. Straight. Silent. Not because she was weak, but because she was choosing her moment. Her eyes moved. To Jones. And for 1 second, everything depended on him. Would he speak? Would he stand? Would he choose truth? Or power? Jones looked at her. Then at the room. Then, he said nothing. And that was the real betrayal. Angela felt it. Not loudly. Not dramatically. But deeply. Like something fragile breaking quietly inside her. She stood. Controlled. "I understand," she said softly. And those 2 words carried more weight than anger ever could. Then she walked away. Back straight. Dignity intact. Because even in humiliation, she refused to collapse. Behind her, the room continued. Letter. Conversation. Deals. But something had already changed. Because silence is never neutral. And Jones, for the first time in years, felt something close to regret. Angela didn't cry when she left. Not in the hallway. Not in the car. Not even when the city lights blurred past her window like something distant and unreachable. She had learned long ago. Tears didn't change outcomes. They only revealed weakness to the wrong people. But something inside her had shifted. Not broken. Close. Event. That night, she packed quietly. No anger. No dramatic gestures. Just decision. 2 letters. One short. One not. The short one. For Jones. "Thank you, I understand." Nothing more. Because explanation wasn't necessary. Silence had already said everything. The second letter. For his mother. Took longer. Because leaving her was the only part that hurt. "You were the closest thing I've had to family in years." She paused. Then continued. "I didn't expect to care, but I did. I'm sorry, I can't stay." Angela folded the letter slowly, placed it beside the bed, and then, from her bag, she took out the only thing she had kept from her past. A worn handkerchief. Fitted. Fragile. Her mother's. She hesitated. Just for a moment. Then placed it beside the letter. Because some things meant more when given away. At dawn, she left. No noise. No goodbye. Just footsteps fading into a world that had always been cold. Back in her apartment. Nothing had changed. Same cracked walls. Same silence. Same emptiness. But now, it felt smaller. Because she had seen something different. And lost it. Meanwhile, at the estate, silence hit harder than any argument. Sir, she's gone. Jones didn't respond immediately. He just read the letter. Was. Then again, I understand. He exhaled slowly. Because those words didn't accuse, didn't demand, didn't blame. They simply acknowledged. And that was worse. His mother cried. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly. Like someone who had lost something she couldn't fully remember, but still felt. My daughter, she whispered. And for the first time, Jones had no answer. Because the truth was simple. She hadn't left because of the world. She left because of him. That night, Jones sat alone. The same room. The same chair. But everything felt different. Because for once, power hadn't protected him. It had exposed him. 2 days later, the storm came. Not ordinary weather. Not inconvenience. But something violent. Relentless. Snow fell in thick, suffocating waves. Wind tore through streets like it had something to prove. Power outages. Broken buildings. Danger everywhere. And in the middle of it, Angela. Alone. Ravi stepped into the study. Her building lost power, he said. Windows shatter. It's not safe. Jones didn't look away from the storm outside. She won't leave, he said quietly. Ravi frowned. Sir. She won't leave, Jones repeated. Because he understood her now. Too late. But clearly. She stays when others would run. It paused. Then he moved. Get the car. Sir, the roads are closed. I wasn't asking. And that was it. Because when a man like Jones decided, nothing stopped him. Driving through the storm wasn't reckless. It was impossible. Visibility near zero. Ice under tires. Wind pushing the car sideways. But he didn't slow down. Because something had already become clear. If he stayed still, he would lose her. For real this time. Her building looked like it might collapse. Door. Frozen. Broken windows letting snow pour inside. Jones climbed the stairs. Fast. Dangerously fast. Reached her door. Knocked. No answer. Pushed it open. Empty. The neighbor spoke through candlelight. She left hours ago looking for a boy. Jones arose. What boy? The one she teaches, near the harbor. And suddenly, everything made sense. Even now. Even like this. She wasn't saving herself. She was saving someone else. The harbor was worse. Abandoned. Frozen. Dangerous. Jones pushed through the storm on foot, calling her name. The wind swallowed it. But he kept moving. Because he knew she would be where danger was highest, not lowest. Then he saw it. A broken shelter, half collapsed. And inside, Angela, curled around a small boy, holding him tightly, protecting him. Her coat wrapped around the child. Her own body, exposed to the cold, shaken, barely conscious. Jones didn't think, didn't hesitate. He moved. Vet. Removed his coat. Wrapped it around her. Lifted her carefully. Too light. Too fragile. And that That hit harder than anything else. Why, she whispered faintly, her voice barely there. Why are you here? Jones didn't answer immediately. Because the truth wasn't simple. Because he wasn't here as power. He wasn't here as authority. He was here as a man, trying to fix something he had broken. He carried her back through the storm, each step heavier, as steady, because leaving her behind was no longer an option. Back at the estate, doctors worked quickly. Warmth, treatment, stabilization. She'll recover, they said. But recovery isn't always physical. When Angela woke, Jones was there, still, watching, not as a boss, not as power, but as someone waiting. You almost died, he said quietly. Angela looked at him. Sire, but I've survived worse. If pause. Then Jones spoke again. This time I won't stay silent. And that was the first time. Howard didn't sound like authority. It sounded like promise. Angela didn't respond. Not yet. Because trust isn't rebuilt with words. But she didn't leave either. And sometimes, that's where forgiveness begins. Angela stayed. But not for Jones. She made that clear. I'm here for her, she said, glancing toward his mother's room. Nothing else. Jones nodded. No argument. No persuasion. Because this time, he understood something important. Joyce was the only thing she would never surrender. The days that followed were quiet. But beneath that quiet, something was building. Not tension. Not fear. Truth. And truth, when it gathers, doesn't stay hidden forever. Jones stood in his study, a thick file in his hand. Ravi had delivered it without a word. Because some things didn't need explanation. They needed courage. Jones opened it, page by page, line by line, and with each detail, his expression changed. Not dramatically, but deeply. Because what he was reading wasn't just information. It was injustice. Carefully constructed. Systematically protected. For years, Angela had never stolen anything. Not a single cent. The case against her. Fabricated. Witness statements. Contradictory. Evidence. Non-existent. But power had filled in the gaps. Because the truth had been inconvenient. The real story unfolded slowly. Unavoidable. At 18, Angela had fought back. Not stolen. Not lie. But against a man who thought she was powerless. A foster son. Protected by family. Protected by influence. And when she refused to stay silent, they buried her. Branded her. Rewrote her life. And at the center of it all, the same woman. The one from the gala. The one who smiled while destroying others. She hadn't just protected the lie. She had built it. But that wasn't the worst part. Jones kept reading. And his grip tightened. Because the file revealed something darker. Much darker. Millions. Stolen from orphan programs. Funds meant for children. Redirected. Hidden. Used. All under the cover of charity. All under the name of someone. Respected. Admired. Untouchable. Jones closed the file slowly. And for a long moment, he didn't move. Because this wasn't just about Angela anymore. This was about a system. A lie that had lived too long. He found her in the garden. Sitting quietly. Watching the wind move through the trees. Peaceful. But not unaware. She looked up as he approached. He didn't speak immediately. He handed her the file. I know the truth, he said. Angela didn't rush. Didn't react. She opened it slowly. Turned pages. Stopped. Then continued. And as she 9 years returned. Not loudly. Not violently, but clearly. Every closed door, every accusation, every moment she was forced to carry something that wasn't hers. She finished, closed the file, looked up at him. What are you going to do? Her voice was calm. Underneath, there was something else. Not hope, not expectation, just readiness. Jones met her gaze. Whatever you decide. Angela frowned slightly. This isn't about me. It is, he said. And for the first time, there was no power in his voice. Only conviction. You lived with this, he continued. You carried it. So you choose how it ends. Silence. The kind that matters. Angela looked down at the file again, then out toward the distance. 9 years. Taken. Distorted. Stolen. Not by fate. By people. I don't want revenge, she said finally. Jones nodded. I didn't think you would. It paused. But I do want the truth, she added. Her voice steadier now. Stronger. I want it where no one can hide from it. Jones' eyes sharpened. Public. Angela nodded. Public. And just like that, the final stage began. The conference room was designed for power. Glass walls. High ceilings. Long table. The kind of place where decisions shaped futures. Where reputations were built and destroyed. Everyone was there. Business leaders. Political figures. Influence wrapped in expensive suits. And as the center, the woman who thought she was untouchable. Confident. Smiling. Because she didn't know. Not yet. Then, the doors opened. Jones entered. And beside him, Angela. The room shifted instantly. Because something was different. She wasn't behind him. She wasn't hidden. She walked beside him. Equal. Visible. Unapologetic. The woman's smile faltered. Just slightly. What is she doing here? She asked. Sweet tone. Sharp edge. This isn't her place. Jones didn't answer immediately. He walked to the head of the table. Turned. And spoke. Today, he said calmly, we correct a mistake. It paused. Then, he continued. Angela will be taking over the foundation. Worse. Confusion. Resistant. The woman laughed softly. Dangerously. A convicted thief running a charity? She tilted her head. You made a mistake. Jones looked at her. And this time, there was no hesitation. No, he said. The mistake was believing you. The room froze. Because power had just chosen truth. Ravi entered. Files in hand. Placed them one by one across the table. No rush. No explanation. Just evidence. Jones spoke again. Everything is there. His voice steady. Final. The real case. The false charges. And the money you stole. The woman's expression changed. Not immediately. But gradually. Confidence. To tension. Tension. To fear. This is absurd, she said sharply. But her voice had lost its control. This is defamation. No, Jones interrupted. It's evidence. People began reading. Turning pages. Expressions shifting. Because truth, when undeniable, doesn't need persuasion. Angela stepped forward. And when she spoke, the room listened. Not because of power, but because of presence. I don't need sympathy, she said. I never did. Her voice was steady. Clear. For 9 years, I lived with something that wasn't mine. It paused. But today, she looked directly at the woman. I give it back. Silence. Heavy. Complete. I am not what you made me, Angela continued. I am what I chose to become. And in that moment, everything changed. Because truth had finally spoken without fear. The woman stood. Anger replacing control. You'll regret this, she snapped. But no one responded. because no one stood with her. And that was the real fall. Not arrest. Not exposure. Isolation. Angela didn't watch her leave. Because she didn't need to. The past was no longer behind her. It was finished. Jones turned to her. Not as a boss. Not as power. But as someone who had learned. Too late. What silence costs. I was wrong, he said quietly. I chose power over truth. It paused. And I won't do that again. Angela looked at him. Look. Carefully. Not forgiving. Not rejecting. Just seeing. Because now, the choice was hers. After the truth came out, the world didn't end. It shifted. Quietly. Irrevocably. The headlines came first. Scandal. Fraud. Abuse of power. The woman who had once stood untouchable now stood alone. Investigations open. Accounts frozen. Allies vanished. Because power, without trust, collapses quickly. But Angela didn't watch the news. Didn't follow the downfall. Because her life was no longer tied to what had been done to her. It was tied to what she would do next. The foundation changed. Not on paper. In purpose. Systems were rebuilt. Transparency enforced. Every number checked. Every decision questioned. Because Angela understood something deeply. Corruption doesn't start big. It starts small. Ignored. Excuse. Repeated. She didn't run it like a boss. She ran it like someone who had lived without it. Children came first. Always. Not donors. Not image. Not reputation. People. Connor was there often. No longer afraid. No longer running. He studied. Learned. Smiled more than he ever had. Because someone had chosen him. When no one else did. Jones stayed in the background. Not out of distance. Out of respect. Because this was her space. Her work. Her impact. He watched. Learned. Change. Because for the first time in years, he wasn't leading with control. He was learning restraint. One evening, they stood outside the news center. Simple building. Bright windows. Children's voices inside. Life. Real life. You built this, Jones said quietly. Angela shook her head. No, she replied. We built this. A small correction. By an important one. He looked at her. Carefully. This isn't over, he said. There's more we could do. Angela smiled slightly. There's always more. Silence followed. But it wasn't empty. It was full. Of possibility. After a moment, Jones reached into his pocket. Pulled out a small box. Not dramatic. Not extravagant. Just simple. I'm not asking for anything, he said. No pressure, no expectation. He opened it. Inside, a plain silver ring. No diamonds. No statement. Just something quiet. A reminder, he continued, that whatever comes next. He paused, carefully choosing his words. It's your choice. Angela looked at the ring. Then at him. Then back at the ring. For a long moment. She said nothing. Because this was different. Not an offer of power. Not a transaction. Not a demand. It's choice. She took the ring. Turned it gently in her fingers. Then slipped it on. Not as acceptance of him. Not as a promise. But as acknowledgement. Then we move forward, she said. Carefully. Jones nodded. That's all I want. Months passed. Spring arrived. Warmth replaced cold. And with it, both. The center expanded. More children. More support. More lives touched. Angela stood in the courtyard one morning. Watching. Listening. Present. Her hands, once cracked from dishwater, now held plans. Possibilities. futures. Behind her, Jones approached quietly, not to interrupt, just to stand beside her. You could have taken anything, he said. Well, position, power. Angela didn't look at him. I took what mattered. If pause, then, and I kept what couldn't be bought. He understood. Finally. Because, in the end, she hadn't risen by chasing power. She had risen by refusing to lose herself. Nearby, his mother sat in the sunlight, smiling, clearer than she had been in years. Watching them, he saw. Angela walked over, kneeling beside her. Are you comfortable? She asked softly. The old woman took her hand, held it tightly. My daughter, she said. And this time, Angela didn't hesitate. She smiled. Always. Across the courtyard, children laughed, bet, lived, and for the first time in a long time, everything felt right. Final reflection. People think power changes the world. But it doesn't, not really. Power only amplifies what's already there. What changes the world is choice. The quiet decision to do what's right. Even when no one is watching. Even when it costs everything. Angela gave away her coat. Her last $45. Her comfort. Her safety. And in return, she didn't gain power. She revealed it. Because real power isn't loud, isn't forced, isn't taken. It's chosen. And sometimes, the people the world overlooks the most are the ones strong enough to change it. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe because sometimes the quietest stories carry the greatest truths.